I just can't take it anymore. So Stephen A. Smith makes these spurious statements about LeBron James not being feared in the NBA or feared in a way that MJ or Kobe was feared. Now understand, this channel wasn't created to defend LeBron or to attack MJ or to attack Stephen A or Skip or anything like this. This channel was created to bring logic into the realm of sports analysis. I'm a logic guy. And so when I see things on the news or whatever, I like things to be tenable and make logical sense. And the problem in the current atmosphere of sports analysts is that too many sports analysts, they have agendas, they have prejudicial opinions, they have a need to get a hot take versus a hot truth. They have a tendency to belittle and demean athletes for the sake of higher ratings and exposure. And don't get me wrong, these guys they're great entertainers. Stephen A. Smith is great TV. Skip Bayless, great TV. Whoever you want to name, they're great TV. But I kind of see it in the way I kind of see hip hop, for instance. So 95%, if not higher, of the hip hop that you would hear or what would be considered popular, it's going to be talking about selling drugs. It's going to be very misogynistic. It's going to be talking about violence, killing people, those type of things. But I personally believe that, with the right beat, I mean, the production these days are high quality, the right beat and the right flow, you can make a song about studying for the semester exam in organic chemistry and it will be the hit. A lot of people think what makes the music flow is the subject matter. And I think the subject matter could be a lot more diverse and it would still be just as popular as long as the production is just as fine and the lyrical delivery was just fine. Now you may say a song about organic chemistry. Who can relate to taking an exam in organic chemistry? Most people don't even take organic chemistry. And I would say more people can relate to organic chemistry than can relate to shooting somebody or selling drugs. But that's besides the point. So my point is that the popular opinion is that since most the popular sports analysts tend to be people that demean and belittle and throw invectives towards the athletes. So a common opinion is that that's the way you have to do it in order to succeed. And I challenge that position. I believe as long as you can make an intelligent, logical, coherent argument, you can be just as popular and be just as productive without the need to belittle athletes. So that was why we created this channel. But let's deal with the subject in hand. So let's play Stephen A's comments.
In all the years that I've covered the league, we talk about the Jordans of the world, the Kobes of the world, and people like that. And you saw LeBron when he first came into the league. You saw when they went to the finals. You saw when they was feigning, taking pictures and playing around and being jovial and all of that other stuff. LeBron James is too phenomenal and too great not to be incredibly respected. But in my estimation, from the people that I've spoken to covering the league, he's never been feared. LeBron is not somebody that instills fear in you. Of course, you got a game plan for him, and you know that his Herculean talents and what have you and what he brings to the table, he's impossible to stop. He's one of the top 2-3 players in the history of basketball. You know all of those things. But a lot of times when we think about MJ, for example, and obviously he's the one person that draws those comparisons, what ultimately comes up short is the level of fear that was instilled in you. But again, he is profoundly respected. This is not an issue about respect for LeBron. I'm talking fear factor. Fear factor. That's just not something that has ever been associated with him.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Go ahead, man.
There's a lot to unpack there.
That's why you're here.
First of all, two of the guys you brought up in that conversation,
Yes.
Kobe,
Yeah.
got two-pieced by Chris Childs.
Yes, it's Chris Childs.
Michael Jordan got the hell beat out of him for years by the Detroit Pistons. So they challenged him physically. To say that LeBron, who's won 4 championships, multiple league MVPs, made the finals 8 straight years, to say he's not feared by players?
Not feared.
I don't know whether to believe that you believe what you're saying.
I do believe
that's crazy.
Well, it's not crazy. It's not.
That's crazy.
It's not crazy, and you know better. You know better. You've been in the.
But hold on. When has there been a situation? If you're talking physical confrontation.
No, I'm not. Listen.
Physical confrontation.
Listen. Well.
If that's what you're referring to, nobody's ever challenged LeBron like that.
Well,
why would they?
Nobody could challenge him. I forgot who it was, the center that played for the Chicago Bulls when he shoved LeBron to the ground, pushed him to the floor when he was in Miami. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying to you is this. If you watch the game, which you do, and
I played the game, Stephen A. And I played against LeBron in the playoffs.
Okay.
And I've played against LeBron. I played against LeBron for 15 years.
You fear what he could do. Listen. You fear what he can do to you on the basketball court because nobody could ever question the greatness of LeBron James. But what I am trying to say to you is that you look at him, there's certain things with MJ in the era that he was in. I've spoken to Isaiah, I've spoken to Dr. J, I've spoken to Kareem, I've spoken to Magic, I've spoken to other folks. There's a culture that existed in the 80s, into the 90s, into the 2000s, or what have you. When you look at LeBron and you compare him to some of the preeminent superstars that have played this game, when it comes to fear, that's one of the differences.
Do you mean because LeBron's more accessible, like in terms of the personality, where MJ wasn't like one of the buddy guys?
That could have a lot to do with it. What I'm saying is we're talking about the greatest player who ever played the game, which I believe to be Michael Jordan. And a lot of times when you delineate the difference between the two, whether it's Michael Jordan or it's LeBron James, they're talking about a fear factor. There's just certain things you knew that you wasn't going to do to MJ.
All right, so let's try to digest some of this stuff. First of all, I don't believe Stephen A. hates LeBron. But I do believe Stephen A. loves Michael Jordan. And anyone that comes close to Michael Jordan, I believe he feels like he has to attack him. I don't think it's that way. We all grow up with people that we idolize, and maybe those that come later, we don't see them in the same light. That's just called prejudice, and that's fine. But you don't have to belittle the other people's greatness. For instance, I was a kid. I was born in '71, but I'm a kid of the '80s. So late '80s, early '90s hip hop. That's my thing. If you ask me to list my top 5 rappers, 1 is KRS-One, 2 is Ice Cube. Those are 2 rappers who had their prime in the mid '80s, late '90s. But at some point, you have to take into considerations the contributions of, say, a Jay-Z or Nas or something like that. So the same thing in the sports realm. You can idolize MJ if that was a guy during your time, but however, you can't use that idolatry to put down others that are great in their era. And that's the issue I think he gets caught in a lot. And if you look at the face, the expression that was made when the mere mention of MJ getting bullied, it's somewhat comical.
Michael Jordan got the hell beat out of him for years by the Detroit Pistons.
Now, to claim that MJ, no one stood up to MJ. Just watch The Last Dance and watch the beginning episodes of The Last Dance and see what happened when he went against Detroit and Boston. That argument is out of there. And the crazy thing, so when JJ challenges him very well, and he looks bewildered for a certain moment, he tries to move the argument away from basketball and some on the court superficial toughness. What are we, in middle school? So I can care less about, and you should care less about who's the tough guy outside of the court. like who's beating up everybody outside of the court. I don't know. You hear all these stories about Charles Oakley. He was this big tough guy. That doesn't make him an all-time great NBA player because this so-called tough guy he was. So that's an immature argument to be having on the sports channel about which person was tougher off the court. That makes no sense to me. So that seems to be where his argument was evolving with J.J. Redick and also with Kendrick Perkins. He kind of moved it toward we're talking off the court. To me, that's an insane argument. I don't even want to consider the legitimacy of having that type of conversation. So I'm going to keep it on the court, even if he doesn't want to. So LeBron is not feared. So I can easily demonstrate he was feared by what happened after the 2016 finals. And they mean to tell me the man is not feared, and the team that won 72 regular season games, and even albeit they lost to him in the finals, took him 7 games. I mean, it was a close battle. So the teams were about evenly matched. That team was so in fear that they had to try to recruit, probably consider that time the second best player to LeBron to help them beat LeBron. That's the best way you can demonstrate how he's feared. So he's definitely feared on the court. Whether he's some tough guy off the court or not makes no difference. Makes no difference to me. That's something I can let fifth graders argue about, which NBA player can fight the best off the court. That's not our concern here. So we're launching this channel. This is the Logical Sports Talk, and we hope you stay tuned.